And we're live.
Yeah, I think you were asking me before I hit record if it would be weird to do this before the show. How did you say that? What did you ask?
Well, I was just saying, if we're going to do the normal hidden track where we play some clips and things like that and kind of have some laughs, feels a little bit weird to do that given the gravity of today.
We'll still do that. I mean,
okay.
The headline show is still a headline show. There's more that happened in the world than Trump being a fucking felon. And people that subscribe to the Patreon deserve to get a little bonus.
You know what?
We'll talk about some
I'm
of
with
this
you.
in the main show.
We'll cover a little bit of both. Sure.
Yeah. Why not Zoidberg?
Zoidberg.
Is that not a thing? Is that like, do people not say why not Zoidberg? Is that just in my head?
I don't think that's much of a thing anymore.
That's like an old meme though, right? Like, why not both? Why not Zoidberg?
Yes.
Okay.
It's from Futurama, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You didn't lose your mind. You didn't have a stroke.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
I can't really hear with my headphones like this, so I have to crank up the monitor.
Are you on the right input?
I was a minute ago. Let's see if it still is. Camera is correct. Desktop microphone, it just changes for no fucking reason.
Yeah, it's like you don't sound quite right.
That should be
there. You go. That's now I hear your dulcet tones.
My monitor will always pick up this because this is hardwired into the.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay, you're on the right input now.
Yeah. Man, what a fucking day, dude.
Dude,
It's a great day for America. You know what? I'm gonna put a little bit of this Jim Beam Black into this Whataburger cup.
There you go. I had this little celebratory beverage as well.
Nice.
I had so much there was so much unexpected emotion that hit me.
Poured like 4 shots into a
nice
cup.
It's gonna be a good show.
Yeah.
I
did not expect this.
I did not expect this, and I didn't expect to feel the way I feel after.
It almost feels relieved, and by almost it just look. Previous experience is no predictor of future results, but there is no reason for us to be happy. There's no reason to be happy. Not until sentencing, not until appeals, not until we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll get into
headlines, but I think there's just because he's convicted doesn't mean he's going to be in jail.
That's fine. I don't know that you should be in jail for something like this, but I think
it's a Class E felony, so it doesn't require
Class E felony. What'd you call that?
Class E.
Did we already call the show a Class E felony? I feel like we have.
I think we have, maybe.
Okay.
Yes. So there's no guarantee.
We did that. Class E felons. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no guarantee he'll serve any jail time, which I'm fine with.
That's fine.
Regardless of that, he is now.
You have to say convicted felon Donald Trump. You don't have to, but
yeah. You know what's so funny is
elderly abuse. We covered this last week.
If he applied for a job at a lot of places, including the Department of Justice, he wouldn't be able to get the job, but he can't be commander in chief. Somehow, strangely.
Yeah. That's fucking wild, man. I wonder if he employs felons in any. Well, we know he employs felons.
Well, we know he does. His lawyer that testified against him in this case is a convicted felon.
Yeah. Right. The biker guy?
Michael Cohen.
Oh, Michael Cohen. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
He's a convicted felon for stuff he did for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I just, I'm sure we'll talk more about it, but just initial reaction is just that, I think both of us thought realistically the odds of a hung jury were very high. I felt like, that was the most likely outcome of this whole thing. And then beyond that, I thought maybe we would get, a few of them guilty, but certainly not all 34. I mean, as somebody who's sat on a jury before, when people disagree, when
you sat on a jury before?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Wasn't
it while we were doing a show?
No, this is a long time ago. I think I got jury duty while we were doing the show. I didn't actually get to be on the jury. No, when people disagree, when you're deliberating, oftentimes you'll try to find sort of a happy medium and say, well, look, I can agree that this, we should convict on this offense, but this one just doesn't feel right to me. And then people can sort of come to a consensus on that sometimes. That happened in the case that I was a juror for. And so that also seemed like a possibility, but even that, I was like, it's probably going to be a hung jury. There's just, no way. But to get all 34 counts was quite a thing.
Yeah. I think we both thought there'd be a hung jury.
Yes, that was the most likely outcome. I think I don't know who said it in the group chat, but getting 12 people to agree on anything is pretty
it was I think it was Slickets. He's like,
was it Slickets?
On a dinner order. We'd all be wanting Taco Bell, and then Thrash would be like, I want barbecue squirrel. I was like, that's a deep fried squirrel guy. I mean, I don't know if he barbecue sauce on it. I don't really know. He likes spicy food.
He does. But yeah, that's my head's all over the place right now.
No, it's fine. We've never started a show like this. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, shall we do a little bit of a normal little secret track?
A little hidden track? Sure.
I mean, I had Trump clips for this, so we'll do it anyways, but
okay.
Oh, I wanted to start the show with this. Well, not the show. I wanted to start damn it. This is going to be our bumper to start the hidden track. Fucking Donald Trump, he ruins all of our plans.
Just screwing up our plans.
Even in the good news days.
Can't have nice things.
Here's up our agenda. It's let's see, where is it? Taylor, silly audio. Where the fuck's the attachments? Got any gum? Okay, ready?
Ready. I can't hear it. Are you?
Well, you shut up. You're talking over it.
Oh.
I'm not really mad. I think that was rude of me. This one. And there we go. Remember the Dude Walker bumpers on Don and Mike?
Oh, yeah, of course.
This is just for me, you, and Taylor.
Okay.
God damn it. It's None Taken with Alan and Dustin.
That's awesome, dude.
Thanks,
That's really cool.
Right? God damn it. I think I'm going to put it on there and try to get some really cool reverb on it too. But
oh yeah,
I mean, nobody's going to sound like Dude Walker, but that's, what? Not, I mean, do you want to do your best? No, right?
No.
Yeah.
I can't. You can't do Dude Walker. That's just like an impression you can't do.
Yeah,
Buzz could maybe do it.
I met him at one of the Vegas shows.
Did you really?
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah. He just sounds like that in person.
I was going to say, he probably just sounds, you just talk.
Yeah, it's surreal to hear him talk. Professional voiceover guy. Oh, I got this sound for Alan that needs to get added to the soundboard, guys. Oh, it cut off early.
I couldn't hear it.
That's weird that you can't. Okay, we've covered this before.
I'm still a fan of Space Jizz, man.
Alan's a fan of Space Jizz.
I am a fan of Space Jizz. I like the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah,
it's my favorite place to get burritos.
Yeah. The music.
Yeah.
Here's a fun little video start. This is Grandma's showing a trick on how to peel an egg.
Mash the end on this.
So you mash up the rounded end of the egg, and then on the pointy end you poke a little hole. Then she's gonna blow through it.
What the
Ta-da!
And you should see what else she can do.
Looks like Mitch McConnell.
He does. He's got the turkey gizzard and everything.
Oh yeah, and the eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, you should see what else she can do. Let's do some calendar facts. I don't organize this pre-show stuff.
Okay.
Calendar facts. This guy's a great account. I'm on my personal. That's why. Cody Tucker. Oh, that's who followed me back. That's dope. This guy has like 400,000 followers. He followed me back today. That's pretty.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah. So Cody Tucker.
He's got a Misfits poster in the background. I like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Whenever I get a follow back for somebody with a lot of follows, I'm always afraid they're they misunderstand the show because we have some spicy memes. They're like, oh, this guy. Sure. Yeah. So that's good to hear. This guy has always some really interesting facts. This is a series about the Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian calendar that we use today. We had the Julian calendar. And after Julius Caesar, that's why July, Julius Caesar, August, Augustus Caesar. So the church comes in and they establish the Gregorian calendar. But for the Julian calendar, the new year started usually at the end of March, early April. Gregorian calendar comes in, that date changes to January 1st. So all the people who weren't part of the church, completely unaware of these changes. So they still celebrating New Year's end of March, early April. Religious people throw these massive New Year's parties, which for them is January 1st. So these people still in the Julian calendar showing up basically like the beginning of April. So all these religious people are just playing a prank on the old Julians. So since this is happening at the beginning of April, they become known as the April Fools.
No.
That is why to this day, on April 1st, we celebrate April Fool's Day.
Whoa.
So before we had the...
Oh, I didn't know. How about that?
I did not know any of that.
That's
Wow.
definitely a how about that.
That is a how about that. 100%.
Wow. Sometimes I like when I saw his stuff come up, I was like, don't even bother. Just put it in the sheet.
Just put it in.
Yeah. Just put it in. Oh, this is a great clip. Literally everybody sent this in. I'm sorry. I can't keep track of who sent this. You probably saw this. If you didn't, you're in for a treat. So this is Zoom court, right? I've seen stuff like this actually since the pandemic and people were doing court via Zoom.
Right.
I know I've seen another one kind of like this. It wasn't as entertaining as this one. This is so blatant. The guy tunes in or shows up on his Zoom court for driving with a suspended license.
Assistant Public Defender Natalie Tate for Mr. Harris, who should be present via Zoom.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
Just does not understand the assignment.
It really doesn't.
Like that wasn't the part. It wasn't rude. It wasn't manners. This is the easiest case.
You stationary?
I'm pulling in right now at this second. Yes, I am.
All right. What are we doing?
Your Honor, we are respectfully requesting an adjournment in this matter, up possibly 2 to 4 weeks that the court would allow.
So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And he was just driving. And he didn't have a license.
I think he's getting it.
The guy's like,
His jaw just dropped. He realizes.
As with the charges, Your Honor, yes.
No, I'm looking at his record. He doesn't have a license. He's suspended and he's just driving.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I don't even know why he would do that. So defendant's bond is revoked in this matter. Defendant is to turn himself into the Washtenaw County Jail by 6 p.m. today. Failure to turn himself in will result in a bench warrant with no bond.
Oh my God. Look at it.
just fucking
dingus.
What a move.
Yeah.
It could have been like, it would have been way better just to be 60 seconds late to that Zoom call and not be driving your car.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You Billups. Did you listen to you know what? It's something Brido said on one of his previous shows. I messaged Brido because he didn't do a show last week. I was like, hey bud, I don't want to like be nosy, but like you didn't do a show last week. And you know, it's my routine.
Right.
Just hoping you're okay, you know. He's like, yeah. Blah, blah. He had some last minute cancellations. He's like, but I'm also working on something. I'm not going to spoil everything, but he had an interview he's been interviewing some people for a project he's working on. We'll call it that. And he's like, this is just for you. And he sent me one of those interviews. It was really cool. It was like an hour and a half long. He's on something that nobody's talking about. That is like a story about a guy that like should be like common knowledge. He's just like I don't want to. I'm on a title.
Yeah, we're not gonna spoil the story, but the story came up on his regular show like a month ago, I want to say, and then he's been like reaching out to people that had more context.
Well, we can talk about that. So there was like the most infamous open mic ever. This guy shows up. Kyle Paris shows up to an open mic with a cooler, and he pulls out a dead possum, and he says that he needs to resuscitate it. So he connects a shop vac to it, and it sucks everything out of the dead possum that he found as a roadkill and sprays it into the audience. Like odor you can't imagine. People were vomiting. Everybody cleared out. It's great stories of it. But you should join his Patreon to get to see all those videos. He interviewed like Chris Porter about it for like 45 minutes. Chris Porter was there.
Yeah, it's
He's
just
like
a
mega
point of
right
detail. This was in Kansas City in the summer.
Oh,
He
God.
literally found it on the
The
side of the
cooler
road.
wasn't to keep it cold.
No.
So, anyways, he was interviewing somebody else that sort of became like what the story started to become about, because there's tangentially something else that's really interesting about it. That's like, I gotta stop.
Gotta stop.
Okay. On that episode, on one of the episodes, on that one, he was talking to that guy about how funny Brad Pitt is in like everything he does, even like Fight Club. Like Brad Pitt's funny, like he's unintentionally pretty hilarious. My personal favorite. So me and Natasha were talking about it last night because he has a cameo in a show we were watching that I won't ruin the cameo for you. So me and Natasha were talking about all our favorite Brad Pitt comedy scenes, unintentional hilarious scenes, right? And I was talking about how my favorite Brad Pitt moment, like comedy moment in any movie, is in Burn After Reading when George Clooney finds him in the closet and he just makes this face. Like
there's something about him and Clooney that's magical. I would say that my favorite movie of his where I think he's really funny is Ocean's 11. And
yeah, but that's a comedy.
It is.
You're right.
But
yeah,
they just play off each other so
they
well.
do. Yeah.
Also, fun fact about that movie, I believe in every single scene that he's in, he's eating something.
I was just going to say that he's always fucking eating, which is like a rule in acting. Like people don't eat now. He is more natural looking when he eats. It's his.
Yes.
And in the cameo we were watching, of course, he had like a bag of food and he's just eating nuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Natasha said her favorite movie where he's unintentionally funny and was Thelma and Louise. I thought he was the guy that did the bad thing, but apparently that was a different guy.
Oh.
Do you not
I barely remember that movie.
Oh, okay. So apparently that whole story was for no reason. Okay. Let's see. Scary lab grown meat. You know what? We'll move that to the big show. Yeah. Before we get into some of the, I mean, I don't have an agenda on the pre-show. Is it okay if these are just kind of out of order or whatever?
Of course. Yeah.
Can we spend like 3 minutes on a Peter Zion clip?
Sure.
Okay.
Nothing says power politics quite like a castle, so I thought this backdrop would be a great way to talk about the Southwest Pacific. Specifically, we've got a rebellion going on in the province of New Caledonia. It's an island that's a French protectorate / colony, and we're starting to see people walking around with flags of Azerbaijan. So this requires a little bit of unpacking. First of all, this is a territory that's...
I didn't watch any of this because I was like, that's confusing. How is this happening? Azerbaijan next to...
It's East Iran.
Yeah, East Iran. That's correct. We learned that on when their president died.
I was aware of some connection between Azerbaijan and the New Caledonia thing, and I think specifically the French have like come out and accused Azerbaijanis of like fomenting unrest there.
Oh, okay. Well, shut up now.
All right.
Survived as a French protectorate even after the rest of the colonies were hived off. On purpose or not, in the aftermath of World War II during the decolonization period. The French hung onto New Caledonia for 2 reasons. Number one, strategic positioning in the Southwest Pacific gives them a leg in that part of the world. And second, and from an economic point of view, far more importantly, New Caledonia is the 3rd largest mine for nickel in the world. Nickel obviously is used in stainless steel, and of late it's becoming far more important for green transition technologies, everything from solar to electrical grade steel to electric vehicles. Now, New Caledonia's had a kind of a rough time of it the last few decades because their nickel isn't all that economically viable. The mines aren't the best in the world, and far more importantly, it takes a lot of energy to process nickel. And to be perfectly blunt, if you're on a small island in the South Pacific, energy is really, really expensive. So it hasn't broken even for much of the last 30 years. And even companies like Glencore, which are, how should I put this, typically not bound by a lot of ethical concerns, are in the process of trying to get out. But if the green transition really does happen, we need 10 times as much nickel, and that's going to change the math for pretty much everything involving the island, which is why we've got the unrest right now. There's an independence movement that is gaining steam, and the French are in the process of making sure that it cannot succeed, so they've changed the electoral laws. It used to be that if you had been in the province on the island for more than 25 years, you could vote in local elections. And that gave the local Kanak minority majority status. But the French are in the process of changing that, so you only had to have lived there for 10 years. And if you include all the mainland French imports to the island that have moved in the last decade, all this, or in the last 15 years, you got a very different picture, and the independence movement will never succeed. So that's what's going on to the French point of view. That's what's going on from the island point of view. That just leaves the Azerbaijani flags.
Yeah.
As we talked about recently, France is getting involved in the Caucasus, specifically helping out Armenia where it can diplomatically, thinking that that's going to give them a leg up in the Caucasus, and that might provide them with some diplomatic heft that they're losing in West Africa. Azerbaijan's on the other side of that conflict. Azerbaijan and Armenia fought a number of wars, and at the moment, Azerbaijan's doing a lot better for a number of reasons. Twice the population, 20 times the economic strength, much more powerful military, and has recently kicked the Armenians' ass in a couple of regional wars. Well, so France mucking about in Armenia has triggered a counter-response with Azerbaijan now monkeying around in New Caledonia. Now, Azerbaijan brings nothing to this fight. They have no experience in supporting the dissidents. They don't know how to do paramilitary attacks at all, but what they do have is a metric butt-ton of money. This is a country with barely 10 million people who have 1 million barrels per day of oil exports, and they can throw a lot of cash at a lot of things at a lot of places if they want to. And for their first big trick, they're trying to sponsor a revolution in the South Pacific just to piss France off.
That's pretty good.
You know what? I'm here for it. That's fun.
No, I'm not here for it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's right. That's where they had the theme parks based off of the war crimes.
The genocide.
Stuff, right?
Yeah. Genocide theme parks.
Theme parks. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Fucking Azerbaijan, dude.
No, that explains a lot. I was only aware of like half that story. So
I was shopping for in-ear monitor headphones, so I don't have to have these while I wear my cowboy hat. So I actually didn't really pay attention. Can you tell me what it is in a nutshell?
So essentially France's involvement in Armenia is pissing off Azerbaijan, and so as a recourse, they decided to piss France off in New Caledonia by supporting
I get it.
Their movement too.
Why didn't you just say that?
It took him a while to get there, but he said it eventually.
4 minutes to say that. Target's been price gouging, but it's worth it. You know, here's why.
It's under fire for price gouging, but that's the point. You paid 10% more to shop in a store with a drop ceiling and civilized pumpkin-spiced customers. If you want the lowest prices, you go to Walmart and trudge through a freight warehouse while 40-year-olds in SpongeBob pajamas fistfight cashiers. Target's under fire for price gouging.
There we go.
You know what? That's fair.
Right. Yeah. And I always said people back in the day when people would shit on Walmart, I was like, you know what? You don't deserve Walmart. I like cheap socks. Like, it's fine. Like, you know, both of those things coexist.
Indeed.
Okay, let's get into a little bit of Trump stuff. Man, I still can't believe it.
I can't either.
Can't believe it. This was Trump yesterday. So yesterday he went down to I don't know if this looks like he's in his playpen. I don't really know why he was there yesterday.
I would say, in listening to the charges from the judge, who's, as you know, very conflicted and corrupt, because of the confliction, very, very corrupt. Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged.
You know what? I mean, we're on record before saying fuck Mother Teresa, so I don't really know why he's expecting any sympathy out of that. Like, you act like Mother Teresa's some kind of fucking saint. Am I right?
Clearly doesn't know the whole story there.
Is she technically a saint? Was that actually the dumbest thing I could have said?
She's technically a saint. Okay. Yes.
I got a question Bob Foster asked in the group chat. Maybe you can help me on this.
Sure.
Do they give out adult diapers in prison, or do you have to trade smokes for them?
I would imagine they're allocated.
Yeah, they probably have different sizes too. So I mean, they may.
He's gonna need the XL, maybe double XL.
They might. I imagine those sell out. The odd sizes sell out fast.
Right.
I mean, he's a very normal height. He's they should get one for someone who's 6'3", 214 pounds.
Right.
He said he was.
But that
we got ones that fit the dimensions you gave us. I didn't know you needed fatso sizes. You fatso. It's a great day for America, though.
It is. It really is.
I saw Biden posted something that was like, you know, the only way to keep Trump out of the White House is to beat him at the ballot box. Like, you know, this is, in other words, like, sure, celebrate, but, you know, if you don't want to be president, donate to my campaign. And then I thought about the inverse of that, which is, how's Trump going to spend this? Donate to my commissary fund.
We have an article in other news about his request for money that you put in there, which is pretty
Oh,
amazing.
good. I don't think I read it, so that's good. Here, let's hear him out. Let's hear what he said after the verdict came out, where he was guilty on all 34 charges. By 12 people agreed 34 times. But by all means, like, I sent you that snapshot from the group chat I'm in, where the guy was like, the jury instructions were fucking bizarre. I'm like, were they? Were the jury instructions bizarre? And then their argument, the guy who made that point, who I really like, I bring up some of the things he says on the show a lot. I won't talk about him while I'm slandering him. I'll talk about him when I praise him, So he was saying that the jury instructions were like, there's 3 different things that you could call him a felon over, and you don't have to unanimously agree on all 12 of you have to agree on one of the 3 different things for all of it. You can say, I think he's guilty in this way. You can think he's guilty in that way and this way. Any of those 3, he's a felon for, which to me is logical. Like it wouldn't be right to be like, well, I thought it was this other way, but we were all agreeing on this other one. It's like, well, it sounds like you think he's a felon. So like, I don't think that's bizarre at all.
I don't think so either. And the defense and the prosecutors had the opportunity to debate how the jury instructions would be, conceived and delivered. So they both had input in that process. And ultimately, the judge decided to do what he did. And the judge, I mean, I don't want to get into too much in the hidden track because we have a lot to say, I'm sure, on the regular show. But this judge has absolutely, in my opinion, bent over backwards to be as fair.
Dude, he has. He should be in jail. If we acted the way he acted during a trial, we would be in jail the entire length of the trial. It'd be My Cousin Vinny.
Right. So when he comes out and says that this
34-year-old movie.
So when he comes out and says the judge is corrupt and his family's corrupt.
That's a great point, dog.
He's conflicted. It's like, dude, he objected when your fucking attorneys wouldn't. Like, he objected for you.
Yeah.
Like
he sustained the objection during your attorney's closing argument.
Right.
Yeah. Why would you pay attention to that though?
And he did that. And when the prosecutor was like, hey, but you upheld that previously, the judge was like, you're like 4.5 hours in, dude. I think you've done enough here. Essentially, that's what he said. For real. That happened.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that before. Okay, let's hear what he said in his playpen after his verdict, where he's guilty, where he's this is twice impeached, never won a popular vote, and convicted felon, Donald Trump.
And now convicted felon.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial.
Your lawyers agreed on the jury.
Yep. And they had opportunity to kick people off.
Yes.
Without question. They could just say, nope, we don't like that person. They agreed on the jury. So yeah.
Verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here.
Yeah, if you paid attention, you knew that the facts presented by the attorneys, I mean, they presented a guilty verdict case. They did. It was whether or not 12 people could actually go into a room and agree on saying that about a former president.
Can I just go back to when he says we only had 4 or 5% in that jurisdiction or whatever he called it?
That's on you, dog. Like, sorry, you weren't popular.
Also, the implication is that if you didn't vote for me, you can't be a fair, impartial juror.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works, right?
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
I mean, and same for me and you. Like, if I had to go to,
you know what? That's a really good point, because I don't think anybody's going to stop on that point. I'm glad you said that. Take your time, and I'm done for interrupting here.
No, yeah. So if let's say you or I got convicted or had to go to court in a county which was very opposite our normal political beliefs, and we had a whole process. Our attorneys got to pick the jury, and we had the whole trial. We got an outcome. We're convicted. You can't say, well, it's because I'm in Tennessee. Only 20% of this electorate are Democrat. So clearly this is not a fair, impartial jury. This is a rigged sentence. Like, that's just not how that works. That is not how the system works, dude. Sorry.
Yeah.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Let's see if there's a little bit more there.
Okay.
You have a Soros-backed DA.
Oh, George Soros. According to QAnon, this is true.
And the whole thing, we didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very...
Oh,
we did everything.
we didn't do a thing wrong.
I did such a good job. Innocent man.
Very.
And it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged.
He's fighting for the Constitution. You know, like ignoring the Tenure of Office Act, firing 40,000 federal workers, deporting millions of asylum seekers, and yeah, he was fighting for the Constitution. You get it.
Right now, this was done by the Biden administration in order to wound.
This case going forward prior to Biden being in office? Wasn't this? Yeah, because okay.
To hurt an opponent, a political opponent.
You know what's funny is this was the worst case. This was the one that we thought would get thrown out.
Yes.
So this is the verdict we get on the one. Oh, he is
the least likely one to
he's
actually
throwing ketchup all over the walls.
And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess.
I wonder why that is.
Nation
So weird. I wonder what like Garfield. I wonder who that's for.
in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists.
All the Mexican mental institutions. That's where they're coming from.
They're taking over our country. We have a country that's in
fine Guatemalan mental institutions. That's who's coming in here. What the fuck? Like when you lie, don't say really, really dumb shit. Like, well, it's fine because he appeals to the uneducated. Did you see that? Like all of the people are like, Biden support, young Biden supporters are going towards Trump. And then when you look at the demo, it's like the uninformed people that are doing it, just like every other demo he ever succeeds at. What his best poll results are always underinformed,
educated,
underinformed, and don't have the ability to vote. That's my favorite. He polls best in the demo of people that don't have the ability to vote.
You know, in a lot of states, you wouldn't have the ability to vote anymore either.
He can't vote. He can't vote in Florida.
I don't think he can.
No, because they tried to repeal that, and then DeSantis said, "No, fuck you, we're keeping this."
Right.
So they tried to make it so that he could vote in Florida, and DeSantis took it away. That's my favorite fact of the day. Oh man, you guys really got to be on the Patreon. Who am I talking to? Never mind. Wow. All right, let's do oh god, is there any more?
But this was a rigged decision right from day one with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Fight for our Constitution.
Coming out of that guy's fat lips. Jesus, man. I told you he said this is old. I want to bring up old shit. We'll talk more about that in the show.
Okay.
I mean, the way I see it, we'll tell people on the show. If you wanted to hear us talk about that was breaking news. Go fucking subscribe to the Patreon. Like,
right.
Okay. Told you he saluted during Amazing Grace.
Jesus, you did tell me that.
Just had to wait for the proof. This is on Fox or OAM. This is. Dummy. Billups. Oh, I thought this was pretty fun. You know what? We'll save that for next week's big show. I think that this was going to be big news. But I think the later news of the afternoon is going to bump that down, and we'll keep it for the big show next week.
Okay.
But they're back on the whole. We have evidence of him saying racist things on The Apprentice thing again. Now Omarosa is saying it again.
Oh, again. Okay.
Charlemagne saying that De Niro was right.
Oh, I saw that. I think you sent me that.
Yeah.
I agree with Robert De Niro. I am one who suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. I think
this is on Fox. This is on Gutfeld. And then he's going to say something that he has receipts for, and Gutfeld's going to be like, I don't believe that. I feel like it's a solid impression. Wait.
he is a threat to democracy.
Really?
I think that he led an attempted coup in this country. You know, he said he wanted to suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. At the least, that's just not a patriotic thing to say.
I don't believe that.
He absolutely said that on
I will
Truth
look
Social.
that up.
How are you a host of a fucking news show and you just like don't remember facts that you don't like?
Right.
He did.
He wanted to suspend the Constitution.
He said we should suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an
Look at his
election.
stupid face.
He did say that.
He's smelling his own farts.
He said it on Truth Social, then said he didn't say it. So I read Project 25. I'm one of those guys that's like, I don't know if he will necessarily leave. I hope he does, as you said.
I said this 1,000 times. Like I'm fine. I wish I could vote for a Republican again. Like I would love if you gave me a solid conservative. Like it'd be fine. It's time for it. You know, especially if Biden gets reelected. Like 8 years, 12 years of Democrats is too much. There should be a decent Republican in the next election. Like or now. But you insisted on nominating Trump, a felon.
Now a convicted felon. Yeah. I'm just being clear. Like I didn't disagree with what De Niro's message was. I disagree with the messenger. I don't think that was effective politically. Everything he said, he's absolutely correct. It's just like that coming from him does nothing to move.
Well, yeah, it's like
anything, it moves in the other direction.
What you have to say, Robert De Niro.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody like Taylor Swift might be able to move some needles, but not De Niro.
Yeah. Are Morgan Wallen fans the opposite? Are they the opposite of Swifties?
Oh, I imagine so. Yes.
They're like anti-Swifties.
Anti-Swifties.
Okay, I think we'll save this to actually do the show open, and we'll do that soon.
Okay.
I wanted to play this because I don't want to wait till next week to play a clip about Bill Walton. So Bill Walton passed away. Alan broke the news to me on the Tuesday show. I didn't see the news from over the weekend. I went back and found an old episode of the Axe Files where they were interrupting, or excuse me, I said interrupting because they were interviewing Bill Walton, and just David Axelrod could not get any fucking questions out. It was hilarious. It was just peak Bill Walton. It was 2016, so he was 8 years younger. He was really in his prime in terms of like, I mean, he was good up towards the end, I thought.
Yeah, he was. I can't wait to hear this. I haven't heard this.
Okay, great. Let me just play this. This is an interesting story. So this is a story about while Bill Walton was at UCLA, he was getting in trouble for protesting. And as this clip picks up, he's talking about how, oh God, who's the coach? Come on.
John Wooden.
John Wooden.
Yeah.
John Wooden was like, you know, you think you're going to get anything done by protesting? You're violating people's rights. You need to write letters. So he takes that idea.
You want because you're infringing on the rights of others. I said, yeah, right. He said, what you should do, Bill? I said, you should go write letters. I said, write letters? He said, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. Anyway, so when we separated that day, I went down to his office. He went home to his wife, Nell. Now, can you imagine what Nell you would say to Coach Wooden after my days with him? Oh, my gosh. And so I go down to his office, and I asked his secretary, who was still there late in the day, and her name was Aldine. I said, hey, Aldine, hey, do you have any stationery? She said, yeah, Bill, is everything okay? I said, yeah, but, you know, Coach Wooden, he wanted me to write a letter. And so I took this stationery, you know, it was John Wooden stationery, and I took it back to my dorm room, and I scripted this letter. I typed it just, you know, I'm a terrible typist, but I scripted this letter to Nixon, you know, outlining all his crimes against humanity, demanding an immediate end to the war in Vietnam, bring all the boys.
Now, people are listening to this in 2024. Like, can you explain what, like, I think most people get this, but just for like the two people that don't get why it matters that it's on his letterhead.
Well, because that was what, 60, back in the 60s, right? 67, something like that. And so there wasn't like an Instagram handle or a Twitter handle that you would have that you could identify yourself with. So letterhead was something that was.
This came from the desk of John Wooden.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, my secretary might have typed it up, but I authorized this.
Very specific. When something came on letterhead, you knew that was official. That was from that agency or that person or whatever the case might be.
Yes. And then I also insisted that Nixon resign. And then I thanked him in advance for his cooperation. And I asked, you know, all the other players on the team signed the letter. I asked Coach Wooden to sign it. He wouldn't sign it. No. And he said, Bill, you're not going to send this in, because he was aghast that I had written it on his stationery. But he handed it back to me in perfect condition. He could have crumpled it up. He could have thrown it into the trash can.
And did you send it?
I sent it, and then Nixon resigned. It was
it's that. Those are facts.
It all worked out.
If I were him, I would go around saying, "Yeah, Nixon resigned because of my letterhead."
Hell yeah, I would. I'd write a book about it.
A lot of stats came out celebrating Bill Walton. There was a couple. There was one that I loved. That was he didn't lose a game in 5 years. between high school and times at UCLA, which is just insane.
You texted me that, and I knew they had a couple of undefeated seasons at UCLA, but I didn't realize it stretched back to his high school career. That's incredible.
Yeah. And then the other stat that people were bringing up was he had what a lot of people consider the most perfect game. He went 21 for 22 shots. So taking 22 shots, he only missed once. And he had 13 rebounds, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he was interviewed on this show about it, the guy interviewing him couldn't compliment him about the 21 for 22 because Walton kept interrupting and saying, no, I took 4 other shots. They took away 4 baskets from me. So it would have been 25 of 26. Which is even
they call offensive fouls or something.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That's funny.
Yeah. This is unrelated to all of that, but you're familiar with the movie Rudy, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know why I said Rudy. Fuck Rudy. I hate that movie, Rudy. Do you like the movie Rudy? I don't know if it's my anti-Notre Dame bias, but I can't stand the movie Rudy.
It's okay.
It's a stupid story. Like nothing. And that schmuck of a kid went around spending the rest of his life he's the reason the movie got made. He went around shopping it, insisting, I'm the greatest story in college football history. I'm Rudy. I hate Rudy.
I didn't know that. I will say the story or the movie is constructed to sort of intentionally try to make you feel something.
Right.
Pull on
Yeah. Disney ass movie.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, it's unrelated to that. The movie Hoosiers is what I was trying to say.
Oh, yes, of course.
Talking about basketball.
Yeah.
So the movie Hoosiers, which is considered by some the greatest sports movie ever made. It's about this team that wins state champions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some epic state championship game, right? And it all came down. That game was that game is what they made the movie about, was how they come from behind and grit it out and win, whatever, right?
Right.
Do you know what the actual final score was of that game?
No.
32-30. That is objectively one of the worst basketball scores I've ever imagined seeing. All the missed shots, right? It's still a full time period game.
I've seen junior high school games on higher scores than that. Right? That's crazy. That was in Indiana, right? Indiana,
yes, yeah. You know what though? Still better than Rudy.
Let me in his damn house.
Rudy was offside.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
In that play, he was offside. Okay.
All right, you ready?
I am ready. Are you recording?
Yes. All right. Well, you want to start a show?
Let's start a show.
That podcast is filling your head with garbage.
No offense taken there.
Well, it sounds like none taken.
Ask your mama, she'll say the same thing. I got all the ways, I just ain't got the means.
Boom. To the Friday Headlines Roundup edition of None Taken. It's a great day for America.
It really is.
Where every week my good friend Alan wrangles up the headlines and we talk them at you. Because I listen to 13 hours of podcasts a day and Alan watches 3 hours of cable news. So you don't have to. And now, get ready to take a sledgehammer to the culture war echo chambers.
So, another Friday is upon us. What will you be doing, Smithers? Something gay, no doubt.
What?
You know, lighthearted, fancy-free. Mothers, lock up your daughters. Smithers is on the town.
Exactly, sir.
Exactly, sir. Welcome to the party, pal. We are here. If you want to join and see everything that you just missed, there's no way we're not going to talk about the big news of today. But we just talked about it for 43 minutes before we started the show. So, shit. I was supposed to stop this down.
Yeah, I realized that. Maybe this time we just let it be.
You know what? A treat for you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But the Patreon still will get this hours ahead of everybody else.
Absolutely.
So there we go. All right.
Yes.
As soon as the video is up, I'll post this onto the Patreon. You guys will get to see this first. But yeah, there we go. It'll be a big fucking show for no reason for a Saturday. Enjoy it, folks.
Enjoy.
I still don't know about that. I think I'll start the audio for the podcast out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was just saying for the YouTube side, you can leave.
Okay. All right.
the video.
Cool.
Yeah.
Leave it in is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Let it
leave
soak.
Yes.
Soaking.
Yes.
So soaking is one thing, and then there's docking.
That's very
docking,
different.
Docking can't be real, right?
I think it's real. I don't know.
Yeah. It feels like an urban legend. Listeners, send in your docking proof if you know anything. Send it to Alan at nonetakenpod.com. Send in your proof of docking to Alan at nonetakenpod.com. We want to find out if it's real or not. You heard us both. We think it's no. Alan thinks it's real. We can prove it. But
yeah,
good thing I don't remember.
It's like Chinese finger cuffs, but with
Alan, we're not. What? You of all people should not be talking about
Hank
finger cuffs. Jesus. Hank. We're not going to get Al Gore on the show. God damn it. Well, I was trying to direct people. Head on over to nonetakenpod.com. From there, you can find links for everything to support the show, from joining the Patreon. Starts off at $3 a month all the way up to $18 a month. There's an intermediate one there. You get full access to everything at any tier you join at. We don't want ads, so we want to give people a price point where if they want to be ballers and meet us at the higher level, you join at the higher level, you get this shirt. You got to DM me, I'll send you a Culture War veteran shirt. But yeah, I mean, you joining that is what maintains this show being ad free, and we give back for that. So you get exclusives, interviews, things like that all come out there first. All of the hidden tracks. Every episode has like a 30 to 40 minute pre-show that we put on there with a lot of the stuff that's either too spicy or didn't have time in the other shows.
Just didn't make sense in the main show, whatever.
Or today we gave our coverage for Trump being convicted guilty of all 34 charges. Alan, go ahead.
Don't you worry, we'll cover it some more here. But also you can click on our merch store there, nonetakenpod.com. You can buy our shirts, our Alan's edging services hoodies, our cunt mugs, all that stuff is over there. Let's see what else. Oh, also don't forget
Alan.
Me and the boys are edging. It's a very cool looking hoodie, you guys. You should check it out. Also, don't forget to support the people that support us. SlickestDigital.com for all your SEO and marketing needs. SlickestDigital.com. What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. The weekend's here. Have a can of beer. And what a weekend it is.
Yeah.
Holy shit. May 30th, 2024. A day that will go down in some sort of infamy or fummy. What's the opposite of infamy?
Celebratory. Revelry.
Yeah. So my first headline here was jury deliberations kicked off in former President Trump's criminal hush money trial in New York. The 12 jurors ended day one without reaching a verdict. We have now reached the end of day two, and we do have a verdict. Guilty on all 34.
Guilty of being hot.
34 times guilty. Now convicted felon, former president.
It's still wild to me that there weren't charges that they said, like, no, I can't agree on.
Well, I mean, so we've already kind of talked about this in the hidden track, but both of us really thought hung jury was the most likely outcome here. Just getting all it took was one juror not to agree, and that would have thrown the whole case. And like we said, getting 12 people to agree on anything is difficult. And you had to imagine that there were people on that jury who potentially were Trump fans, Trump supporters. Yeah. One of the jury members during questioning prior to being seated as a juror said that he got his news from Fox News. One said that they got their news from True Social. Yeah. So while Trump can say this was
that's rigged, a really good point. I mean, they should have got a hung jury then if it all comes down to nobody voted for me in that district.
Right. So he can say it's rigged and the judge was conflicted and corrupt. I would point out that this judge was extremely, extremely deferential and reserved. I mean, Trump violated 10 gag orders and potentially could have violated more. The judge was kind of easy on him on a couple of those things.
That's true.
And the judge showed extreme restraint.
Extreme Restraints. This episode is brought to you by extremerestraints.com. Type in code NONETAKEN for a 10% off coupon.
Right. It's right next to trumpgags.com.
Yes.
So
say about me that let's just move on.
I mean, really extreme restraint. He even said, look, man, I don't want to throw you in jail, but I got to do my job at some point. Please don't make me do that, essentially. I mean, Trump attacked this judge. He attacked his family. He attacked members of the jury.
God, that's so funny. Who's going to sentence him?
The judge.
There's no brains inside his head.
No, he attacked witnesses. By the way, just as a side that you mentioned that, so the sentencing hearing is going to be on July 11th. The judge will determine the sentencing.
Oh, so we'll get to celebrate the 4th as a free man.
The requirements for this level of felony in New York don't require jail time.
Well, they gave him an option between jail time and other forms of punishment, and he said,
I will take electrocution.
However, the judge, when deciding, like taking all the mitigating factors into determining what his sentence should be, the judge can consider the gag orders that were violated as part of.
This is what it sounds like when he violates the gag order.
So the judge can take that into account when he determines what his sentence should be. That's all fair game. Just again, going back to Trump saying that the whole thing was rigged, and the judge was conflicted. The judge objected for him when his attorneys did not, and so not only objected and then sustained his own objection during Stormy Daniels' testimony, and when witnesses clearly stepped over the line or Trump stepped over the line during
over the line,
court,
Smokey.
He had the jury dismissed before he dressed down the attorney.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So
all of those would be things to maybe hope for in an appeal, but
yeah,
since he didn't.
I mean, I know a lot of people on the MAGA side are saying, this is a travesty and this is
Travis Sham mockery.
This is completely unfair. Man, I gotta say, I just following this case as closely as we have, this judge has been just absolutely the most fair-minded judge I could imagine deliberating over this process. So your camera's off.
I know it's off.
Okay.
Trust me.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. What are your? I was talking for a while.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we said a lot, and
yeah.
Pay for the Patreon. $3 a month, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Thrash joined, and he's like, "Look, if someday I'm not here, it's because I was about to give away a lot of his lifestyle." he was like, "Look, man, I don't make a lot of money." But so if someday the check bounces, then I'll jump back in here when I can. If that young lad's in there, you can watch our videos for $3 a month.
$3 is worth. It's a deal, you guys. It's a deal.
It is. Anyways, I don't know. I mean, like I don't have much more to say other than what it's. People talked about the jury. I think the big thing that people are hanging on now is that the jury instructions were odd. That he said you don't have to agree all on the same count. Or not the same count. Can you describe that? I always struggle with it.
So essentially, the juries was instructed that
there was 3 ways that it could have been elevated to a felony. Right. Otherwise, this is like I can't believe this was a nuisance. I mean, this would have been a slap in the face if they didn't agree it was a felony. Trump would have been able to amplify how much of a waste of time and money it was to have this case.
Right. So there were 3 ways that they could determine, or they could get to the determination that it was in fact a felony. And they didn't have to unanimously agree on which way it got there. They just had to agree that it was in fact a felony. That was
said they, and it made me think of our friend in Vietnam who's probably going to wake up any minute now and see the group chat. Right. So people were like, that's wild that they didn't all have to agree on the same escalatory charge. It's like, no, it's not. Like if they all say 3 different reasons, they're all saying we think he's a felon based on the evidence you gave me.
Right.
Like it would be stupid if they were like, well, we all thought he was a felon, but it was different reasons. So you can go home, you're free. Like,
yeah, I just have to
play the counterfactual of that. It doesn't make sense that way.
Right, exactly. Just a couple of things, just in my reaction. So the way the verdict was given out is the way it always is. But the jury foreman comes up and they say we've reached a verdict. And the judge says, okay, read me the verdict. And they say on count 1, so and so, we find that the defendant guilty. On count 2, guilty. So it goes through this whole thing. So as I'm watching, as they're counting it down on television, it's like count 1 guilty, count 2 guilty, count 3 guilty. It keeps going up. And I'm like, there's no way we're getting all 34. That's not going to happen.
Right. Like online when you try to count to whatever, and then someone jumps in with over 9,000.
Right. So yeah, this was just a full sweep. Just very
crazy. Like I just can't believe all 12 people agreed on all 34 charges.
I agree. The other thing I would say is just that we've been following Trump since the inception of this podcast, obviously for obvious reasons, right? We spent a lot of time about politics, but
Yeah, we started the show during the pandemic that he exacerbated by getting rid of the pandemic response team.
Right.
And
Right. But we've watched him essentially take a wrecking ball to institutions, to, calling the press the enemy of the people, to just all these things, right, that he was doing. And it felt like at times the institutions that we trusted in on some level were just not going to be able to withstand this wrecking ball of a person.
Right.
And you have to say that after today, and what we said was the weakest case, an institution held up, an institution of American society held up, an institution of American citizens being fair judges of their peers held up. And that's, not to sit up here and wave the flag too much, but that's something to be proud of. I think.
Fucking wave the flag. This is America living up to what we say it is.
Right.
And if you want to undermine that, you're actually undermining the system that we have. Like, yeah. Which he already does, because he appoints the judges that won't recuse themselves from the things and undermine the same institution that we're touting at this moment. Is there any chance of appeal? My outlook on this is the hard thing to accomplish is getting 12 people to agree on these 34 case charges. It seems like that would be more difficult to get done than have an appeals court body look at the same facts and not agree that they were what those 12 people agreed on. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely. I agree. So yeah, obviously, they're going to do whatever they can to appeal this, but given the judge's handling of this case, what we've seen of that, and the things he allowed, the things he was fair on and consistent about,
you can't just appeal it because you don't like the verdict. You have to appeal it because of something about how the case was handled. Oh yeah, okay, sure.
I just don't think that's going to hold up.
The judge's daughter. It's like, the fuck up. Hey, you got a judge's wife that's doing all this other shit, and you're like, that's not a big deal. The judge's wife can do whatever she wants. Like,
two judges' wives,
dog. Two judges' wives. Come on. Like, hold on. Yeah. Like, either that doesn't matter or it matters, and you don't get to choose. Yeah. I haven't thought about it. Hey, speaking of which, Supreme Court Justice Alito sent letters to Congress saying he would not recuse himself from cases related to Trump and January 6th. This was yesterday's news, I believe. So like Monday or Wednesday, excuse me.
Wednesday, yeah.
Following such calls by some Democrats over an upside down flag controversy. Honestly, they're underselling that to say it's an upside down flag controversy, because all of his excuses in it are all bullshit. Like, nobody's saying the version I said, which is you said it was an argument over the anti-Trump flag with your neighbor because you thought that kids shouldn't see that on the way to their bus stop. This is Virginia during lockdown. So
there were no kids on their way.
But then there was other stuff, like the timeline just didn't add up with that. Like, he's lying. He's a lying ass judge.
And they found the second flag at his vacation home. And he blamed that on his wife as well. He said, my wife just, she puts up, she likes flags. She put up the flagpole herself. Yeah. She likes to change out the flags. I don't know. I just live here, like, it's not really my fault. And so
I feel like not having your wife in order is not really very traditional, or all these guys that want a trad wife. I feel like most of these trad wives would listen to you and you say, listen, woman, you're taking that flag down. You put that American flag right side up.
I mean, and then you
and then go make some Maxwell House.
Right. You think about some of the questions that he asked in the presidential immunity case where they held the hearing, and it's just like, no, dude, like, you're on the Jan 6 side. Like, that's where you're at. It's just so obvious in the comments that you made, in the fact that you had these flags flying over your house. And the crazy thing is, nothing's going to be done about it. It's just going to be allowed to pass.
They even said, they're like, this new ethics policy that they have is actually pretty high standard. So, I mean, it's kind of a lot to expect. It's like, what the fuck, man? Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
There's no enforcement mechanism of that standard. So it's pointless. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
This is the same guy, by the way, that wrote the majority opinion in the Dobbs case. We know where he's at politically, and justices have always been somewhat, it's obvious you have a conservative or a liberal justice, but when they put the robes on,
to say when they go and when they get,
put the robes on, they're supposed to be apolitical. They're
That's
supposed
what they
to
all
weigh
say
the
when
facts.
they're being
That's what they'll tell you.
interviewed at the,
Right. By the Senate.
Yeah.
Confirmation hearings.
Yeah.
Yeah. They all say, look, it's it's precedent. We're not going to overturn precedent. That's what they said about Roe v. Wade. Every single one of those justices said that. And then they overturned it. So, I mean, on one hand, we can celebrate, if you want to celebrate a victory today judicially, but we still have a lot of issues within our judiciary.
It would be wild if he's guilty on this and not stealing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of documents, keeping them in his pool house or
that would be pretty
literally
wild.
in the copier room. Like,
all right, let's see. We have one more headline in American politics.
did I jump? Oh, I jumped ahead.
RFK Jr. filed a complaint with the FEC against CNN, alleging it colluded with the Biden and Trump campaigns to set standards to exclude the independent candidate from participating in the network's June 27th debate. So
that's pretty stupid. The FEC has always been biased towards them, and just because this guy has enough profile to get this headline out there, you know?
Yeah, and CNN
libertarians have been complaining about that for years. I'm not going to listen to RFK and his brainworms.
CNN's come out and said, "Look, we have the criteria for who would be in the debate prior to asking the Trump and Biden campaign to be in the debate." And RFK
literally in the last 3 elections, libertarians have been on the ballot in all 50 states. And this guy's making a big stink because, I mean, he's not wrong, but the precedence is not like there's nothing unusual about how they're treating it. It is wrong. I'm happy to see. Okay, in a sense, I am happy to see somebody challenge that, but it's why is this a headline now? This pissed me off 4 years ago, 4 years before that, and 4 years before that.
Sure. So yeah, the CNN requirements
and brainworms talking about it.
The requirements are that you can get enough electoral votes to actually win, based on where you're on the ballots, which he doesn't meet currently.
And the argument is you don't get that polling until you do what is essentially a Super Bowl ad, which is be in a debate, right? Like one thing leads to the other. You don't have great polling and then show up at a debate as a third party candidate. Third party doesn't get attention until they get to these debates and do well. That's when they start polling well.
Something just popped in my head when you were saying that. So the sentencing hearing, July 11th.
Yeah. Oh shit. He's gonna be.
I think the RNC convention is like the 15th. So like 4 days later, the Republican Party could be nominating their.
They're gonna leverage the hell out of that, man. It's gonna be great for them, though. They are. I mean, we're laughing now, but they're gonna.
All right, let's move on. The Israeli military gained control of the Philadelphia corridor, a strategic buffer zone along the Egypt-Gaza border.
I believe that means brotherly love corridor. No, Philadelphia.
I mean, Philadelphia in Greek would mean that, yes. Yeah. Is it? Why would it be named a Greek name there? I don't know. Okay.
In Mediterranean, buddy.
Oh, that's fair. Okay. A strategic buffer zone.
Oh, I know why, because the Levant. People talk about like who are the original people from there. I'm like, you don't want to get into this debate. Right?
All right. A strategic buffer zone along the Egypt-Gaza border, saying operational control has allowed them to cut off smuggling tunnels used by Hamas. They say those tunnels are being used to get arms and other goods into Gaza, and they've now shut that off. Now, Egypt's been saying forever that they've already done that, and they're not happy about Israel being there.
And doesn't this, by definition, by cutting that off and occupying that space, reduce the size of Gaza? And that violates the 79 agreement or something like that.
I suppose that it would. Yes.
That's what I keep hearing Dave DeCamp say.
Yeah, I can see that. And also, man, that's just... Israel and Egypt have been kind of cooperating with dealing with Gaza for quite a while, but tensions are definitely higher than they have been in some time based on this war.
Well, they were cooperating, but he's rocking the table while they're operating.
Right. Yes.
I know you got a job, Ms. Cheney.
Yeah. So you could potentially see some more skirmishes here. I think we've had a couple of Israeli soldiers and maybe an Egyptian soldier die over the last week.
Yeah, I was surprised that didn't blow up into more. That happened over the weekend. It was
So you don't want to see more tensions in that area, but it's possible we will.
Yeah, Egypt can't afford to get involved in any of this shit. They can't even keep the bread for their citizens, and you don't want the mob in Egypt getting upset. Historically, that's been a bad thing.
That's really bad. Yeah,
thousands of years. Yeah.
And the Muslim Brotherhood, which they kicked out of power in Egypt, is essentially Hamas. I mean, that's just an offshoot of that.
Oh, really? Muslim Brotherhood is eliminate Hamas? I didn't know that.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, it makes sense that it is, but I didn't know that. Look at you, Alan. Look at us.
Look at us. All right, you want to hit 5?
U.S. suspended aid delivery via its temporary pier built off the Gaza coast. I got to say, James was the one that was talking about how it looks more like a... Oh, that's what it was. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me get through this and I'll get into that.
Okay.
The U.S. suspended aid via its temporary pier built off the Gaza coast after the structure was damaged by rough seas. When I was listening to Dave DeCamp on Anti-War talk about this, he's like, if you look at the picture, it doesn't even look like a pier. It just looks like a dock. And I'm like,
that's what it...
Pier and a dock.
It's the same thing.
And that's when James started talking about docking. He's like, don't Google that. I know about docking.
Guess how much the U.S. spent to build that dock?
$300 million.
$320 million.
Seas it can't handle.
Rough
it
seas.
Can't handle like 3-foot seas.
The way your mother
or
likes
like
it.
15-mile-hour winds. That's insane. That like.
Yeah, it busted apart, and so now they're gonna have to try to fix it.
It completely busted apart, right?
Yes.
And it all like went ashore. That was so surreal.
It was floating all over the place.
Waves going over it on the sand.
Yeah. So I mean, usually we're pretty good at building shit like that with our military.
It's a feat of engineering. It really is impressive that we can do that. But apparently not.
You'd think $320 million. You know, there'd be some quality control on that.
Yeah, I guess
more than a week.
It's expensive. You know, it's got to
sure.
Costs a lot to get there too.
All right. Haiti's Transitional Council appointed former UN official Gary Conille as prime minister as the nation struggles with gang violence. So this guy had been in power as prime minister previously.
Gary with 2 R's. I don't trust it.
Like 10, 12 years ago, I want to say.
Huh.
And so he's pretty uncontroversial figure as far as I can tell. So, I mean, hopefully any like sign of stability in that country would be just anything moving towards stability.
Yeah.
I mean, would be a huge.
Whatever happened to that barbecue guy? I thought he was having some stability.
You know what's so weird is he's sort of fallen out of press coverage or media coverage as far as I can tell. So I don't know.
That's not what warlords normally do.
Usually those guys are a lot more powerful behind the scenes and you don't know who their names are. So maybe it's surprising we knew his name at all.
Okay. So he's kind of back to where he's normally operating.
Seems that way. Although, as I said, no, definitely not. And as I said on the last episode, I think the gangs still control 80% of Port-au-Prince. So it's like there's nowhere near back to normal.
I really appreciate you keeping these headlines in here because I don't hear enough about this. So yeah, it doesn't show up on my feed enough, and it doesn't end up in the clips show. So I'm really glad that we get a chance to talk about. Is there any I mean, are those guys like swimming across from Kenya? Like, what the fuck is going on with the is it Kenya? Where they're getting the police force from?
They're supposed to be not swimming. They're supposed to, it is Kenya.
Why did you say not swimming, Alan? Don't be racist.
They agree.
They can do that. You think that that's why? Why did you say they can't swim there, Alan?
I wasn't saying that because of their ethnic background. Okay. I was just saying that I think they have boats.
Well, why is it taking so fucking long? I've heard it was.
Well, it took them a long time to agree to allow that to happen. And so
then they didn't have people in charge.
Right. So it's still in progress. So
what's it gonna do? What's it gonna do to have like 100 Kenyans there?
It's gonna be more than 100. I think it's thousands. So yeah, I mean, they can hopefully restore some order to the place. That I just feel sorry for the people there. There's something like 360,000 Haitian citizens have been displaced since this whole thing started. And ones that haven't been displaced, many of them are just living in terror of what these gangs are doing in their communities. So just a really shitty situation.
Oh, I'm glad you kept that on there. I just saw this next headline. I'm glad you put this in too. For a different reason, I'm glad you have this in the show. North Korea sent over 200 balloons filled with waste. We'll call it waste. It was trash and feces. So they sent over 200 balloons filled with waste into South Korea after activists sent balloons with anti-Pyongyang materials into North Korea. So South Korean activists sent balloons into North Korea and they sent shit back.
Yeah, so the balloons that the South Korean activists sent over included flash drives with like current K-pop and like movies and TV.
Yeah,
including
porn, right? They got
sure, yeah. Included US dollars. So if you find the balloon, you maybe catch a couple bucks. And yeah, so the North Koreans
put it in your pocket, never let it fade away.
So the balloons the North Koreans sent over had garbage, like old batteries, shit like that. They are saying actually the article I read said there was no official accounts of human feces in
so
in these ones. Although they previously, because this has happened before.
Oh, okay.
And previously they have. And North Korea sort of infamously often uses human feces as fertilizer because they don't have other options.
Oh my god, that's like Primitive Man.
Yeah, or that movie when Matt Damon was on Mars.
Also Primitive Man. Yes.
Yes.
Like seriously, that was like the history of man. They're like, it turns out things grow better where we were.
Where we should. Yeah. So good times over there. Kim is doing more and more saber rattling.
That launched ballistic missiles at Japan.
Yeah,
Japan like evacuated buildings and people sought cover, and then it was another one of his duds or whatever.
Right, nothing happened. But yeah, the tensions are escalating there as well. It's just what we need more.
I had a question for you. It was gonna be just a random just asking question at some point. It fits here. Is South Korea conceptually? Is it like? Could you think of it as a man-made island?
With the DMZ being the
and nothing here.
Right.
Then this as all right.
I think I could see that perhaps.
All right. You're being
all
nice.
Right. Louisiana Governor Landry signed a bill making 2 abortion pills controlled and dangerous substances, criminalizing possession without a prescription.
It's so fucking reckless for people that need that for miscarriages.
Yes, mifepristone and mifepristol for people with miscarriages. This can be a life-saving medication.
So here's how that needs to get spun. But anytime someone talks about whatever, you just say, you know what? Sure, I think inflation is costing Americans, but I don't think it's going to cost us anything as much as women in Louisiana that need to be life flighted to, I guess the refuge state of Mississippi if they need life-saving care, right?
The attack on women's health that we've seen over the last 2 years is just...
Well, keep it up. Keep it up. They should keep it up because, look, Democrats can argue about one of two things. They can talk about what they perceive Joe Biden's economic record as, or they can argue about, because people don't have time to hear 5 different arguments, right?
Right.
And just as long as Republicans want to keep giving Democrats ammo, then just keep hitting that subject. Like, just keep telling women voters, like, these people want to take away your health rights.
Yeah, I mean, some of the most effective ads I've seen over the course of this political season have been regarding that. From the
but most of the ones that you've seen have been targeted ads targeted at who they think it'll be effective at hearing. So Democrats, they need national
full court press. Yeah. It's just to think that it's 2024 and we got men in power doing stuff like this is just I don't know. I shake my head.
Yeah.
All right, you want to hit number 9?
Number 9. The NOAA. I don't like it. The NOAA. I'm just gonna say NOAA. NOAA released its annual hurricane forecast. It's a spicy one. It's predicting an above average normal season.
Mm-hmm.
Above normal. They're predicting an above normal season driven by La Nina and above average ocean temperatures.
Yeah, and so we've been doing this show for 4 years, and I swear we've read that headline 3 of the 4 years we've been doing it. So strangely, you would think La Nina would be calming, but because there's less wind, there's actually more ability for the ocean temperatures to build up.
No, it's thermodynamics, right? Like in air conditioning, you slow down the fan speed if you want to have more temperature exchange across the coil.
Yeah. So and we know what ocean temperatures rising do to weather patterns. It's bad. I mean, when you look at, I always remember looking at ocean temperatures post or pre-Katrina, and you could see, because NOAA releases maps that are like heat maps where you can see how hot the water is, the surface of the water is, and you can just see how the temperature is rising, and then all of a sudden you have all these crazy storms, and you eventually get Katrina, and that's been true always. But as our temperatures continue to rise and as our weather becomes more unpredictable, you get more and more of these storms. And that's just par for the course, it seems now. As I said, we've read the same headline. So last year it was La Nina, right? And
Yeah,
now
so
it's
are they
La
saying that is doing its cycle and dying down? The La Nino is going away
Yes.
Okay, all right. I thought it was going to be more than 1 year. Okay, well, that's
so this is supposed to be the more mild version, and then perhaps.
But then the
normal
effects
cycle.
from El Nino have knock-on effects through the next few seasons.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. A Michigan farm worker was diagnosed with bird flu, making the second human case.
Heard it
in
here
the
like
US,
2 months ago, dog.
linked to a months-long outbreak. I think we heard the first one a couple months ago, didn't we?
That's what I'm saying. The guy in Texas. Yeah.
So this is the second one.
Nobody else was talking about it.
Right.
You were like, I'm not hearing this from anyone. I'm like,
no, yeah, I remember that.
You're like, where did you get this news? I was like, NBC, dude. Nobody's talking about it.
Nobody's talking about it. Yeah. So it's transmitted by dairy cows. Health officials emphasize that risk to the public remains low. So apparently,
you think all his neighbors probably think he fucked a cow, right?
So he got infection in his eye is actually where he got it. And that seems to be a common transmission source. You get fatigue, and sometimes your eye is, feels like you have bad allergies or whatever.
Okay.
So the symptoms have been pretty mild from these cases, but it is concerning. And they found, I want to say something like over 30-something herds of cattle that have infections with this bird flu. Most of them in Michigan, strangely enough. Like I want to say like 15 of them in Michigan. So it's weird.
Now,
I don't know what's
it is worth remembering that yes, bird flu is scary. We don't want to see it cross over.
We don't like it jump species. No, we don't like that.
Although it isn't like COVID where we're like, well, we're gonna have to come up with a vaccine on the fly.
No, we have that.
We have therapeutics for this. Theraflu or whatever works for it. There are treatments for this. It's just going to involve ramping it up and distributing it and getting that available.
Yeah, and as I said, the symptoms,
and it's also going to be really bad if you get it. But
the symptoms have been pretty mild in these two cases so far. In these two
I think
cases so far, they've been very mild.
monitoring.
But I mean, the problem is when you have a virus like this that jumps species, then it
usually mutates.
It continues to mutate, and then it can get worse. So that's just how viruses work.
All right. The Pentagon said Russia likely launched a counter space weapon in the same orbit as a U.S. government satellite, which Russia officials later denied. So this is different from that nuclear thing they were talking about, right? And is this different than that Chinese space plane that's been dropping weird beeping signal? Have you seen that?
Yes, this is also different than that. So there were
that space plane thing is weird, by the way.
That is weird. There were official Russian media reports of this launch happening, that they were launching something. They didn't specify what, but the U.S. intelligence agencies are saying that they believe it was a counter satellite space weapon. Meanwhile, Russia is saying, "Look, we don't want to have weapons in space. In fact, we've been putting things on the table to not do that, and the U.S. won't sign them." And the U.S. is calling bullshit on that as well. So this continues to go back and forth. I think space war is very scary.
Yeah.
We've talked about the potential for. I mean, you talked about the potential for nuclear based space weapons, but also just we know that there is a certain level of debris that you can get in your upper atmosphere in low Earth orbit. Where
it's like a tipping point.
There's a tipping point where you basically can't escape the planet. Like you're stuck because there's too much debris to get out. And so if they keep blowing shit up in orbit, then the potential for us to cross that line gets more and more likely, and that's concerning.
They're holding us hostage.
Yeah. All right, we got other news. Let's see this one. This is from the Washington Post. Trump makes sweeping promises to donors on audacious fundraising tour. Okay,
so I couldn't find audio for this, so I figured you could talk about it here.
Yeah. Okay. So this is pretty wild stuff. So apparently, a prominent donor offered to donate $1 million to the Trump campaign to have lunch with Trump, or said he wanted to have lunch sort of as a side of that. And Trump's like, "I'm not having lunch. You got to make that $25 million."
Whoa.
And yeah, and another businessman.
This is what somebody says when they owe a court $400 million.
Another businessman who had traditionally given $2 to $3 million to Republicans was told that they wanted 25 or 50 if he was going to be happy with it this time.
Jesus.
There's other reporting of him having meetings with like oil executives.
Say it again.
Coal executives.
There's other. I can't hear you. Nobody could hear you. Alan.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
No.
Hello?
Say it again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So there's other reporting wherein he's having meetings with oil executives, coal executives, and saying, look, you want me in office because I'm going to cut regulations and cut your taxes. So you need to give me $50 million.
Hold on. So is this the guy who's also saying that Joe Biden's ruining the economy? And Joe Biden's am I hearing this right? That Donald Trump's plan to fix the economy is to give big
oil
tax
companies
breaks and
regulatory changes.
and he asked that, like, haven't we figured out that doesn't do what they're trying to do?
He reportedly
he
reportedly asked oil industry executives to raise $1 billion for his campaign. Said raising such a sum would be a deal, given how much money they would save if he were reelected as president. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been to sexual harassment classes and know what quid pro quo is, but that seems like pretty close to the fucking line to me.
Quid pro quo means. It sounds like that perfect phone call he had with Zelensky. I think he learned that word before. So no excuses here.
Yeah, I would say so. Anyways, that's some pretty wild stuff. $1 billion he's asking for.
That would be something to have on tape.
Yeah, that would. All right, Alito thing. We already covered Alito. I think that's fine.
No, that's not about Alito.
Different?
That's about the Washington Post.
Oh, okay, you're right. Okay. The Washington Post said it had the Alito flag story 3 years ago and chose not to publish.
Does that mean it's bullshit or what?
Well, no, I think it's funny because it's the Washington Post reporting on the Washington Post.
I saw that. I tried to find another source and I was like,
no, it was just them. So essentially what they said, or they've come out and said now, is that at the time they determined that because it was Alito's wife that put the flag up, that they don't punish public figures for things that they didn't personally do, that a family member did. And they were often
Post cover Jenny Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was 3 years ago. But that was 3 years ago too. Anyways, so they said that because it was a spouse and it wasn't him, and also they were typically deferential to the Supreme Court. And they're now saying in this current article,
Supreme Court helped the Washington Post out quite a bit.
They're saying now in this article that was a mistake and they should report it on it.
Oh,
but I also think it's funny that the Times gets the story 3 years later and just posts it, and then now they're like, "Oh, by the way,
we had that.
We decided, it would be unethical to post it. Fuck off."
Business ethics.
I'm just a businessman doing business things.
That's on a different page. It's fine. Okay.
Let's see.
Could you have anything? Did you read this one about the Starliner launch?
I did.
That's a huge delay in our space plans.
So essentially, when NASA contracted out, because they're not doing, they're not making rockets themselves anymore. So they like to have competition. So they said, all right, SpaceX and Boeing, we're going to have you two compete. Yeah, we're going to have you guys compete. And so far, SpaceX is really the only one that's been viable. The Starliner has had multiple attempts where they had astronauts in the rocket, and they're like, oh, this valve is leaking. This is not working right. Whatever. They have to, cancel the launch.
Did they use parts that were on the warranty shelf?
I mean, it's another black eye for Boeing.
Black eye, Alan.
Black eye.
Oh.
And so now they're just scrubbing it indefinitely. So as of now, we don't have any sort of new launch date. So another great story for them. I think we covered this.
We covered the head transplant thing. Was there anything more in there? Or is this just
no? It was pretty much the same stuff.
Okay. When are they talking about doing it? 2030?
I think they said within the next 8 years. So that would be 2032, I guess.
Okay.
All right. This is Loadmaster sent this. This is Replicator, an inside look at the Pentagon's ambitious drone program. So just to summarize, essentially, they are really trying to ramp up drone production. As we've seen, drones have been more and more effective and useful in war. We know China is like going crazy manufacturing these drones. And so the US has some catching up to do here. Iran as well. And so
this story to me was more about this program that basically the conflict you always have is big ambitious things require getting over a non-financially viable hump, and you require private investment, and those people don't anticipate it working
enough profit.
so you don't get over that initial hump, and then it never becomes what they anticipated being. So they created this like 18-month window to do this. And then the guy that created this said, if we can create this program, we could take the principles of it and just start doing new programs with different goals. Is that what you saw?
Yes. I mean, essentially, I would say what they're talking about here is like a DARPA model, where they take sort of, not necessarily pie in the sky, but very difficult things to accomplish, as you said, like a hump to get over technology-wise, to make mass manufacturing of something possible like this. And they invest the money with this time window to do it. And we've, that's why DARPA exists, to, fund things like that. And often they have useful commercial applications as well, beyond military applications, once the technology is out there. We've seen that time over time. So
Replicator is the program. This time it's being applied towards drones if
Right.
it works. And they have like another 12 months to pull it off. Like they're a little behind.
I think it was a total of 20 months.
Okay.
And
We're 18 months. That was like 2 months ago, maybe.
yeah.
Okay.
So I think it was like 18 months.
I've already seen stories about like massive shipments of drone going to the Western Pacific.
Yes.
I don't know if
I've
it's
seen that
related,
too.
just coincidental, but yeah. Okay. What else you got in here?
All right, we got a couple more. This is
I thought this was interesting.
this is from The Economist. How a home improvement subsidy is wrecking Italy's public finances. So they enacted legislation. I can't read all of this because I don't have an Economist subscription, but they enacted legislation. Yeah, in Italy, where the government offered to pay homeowners 110% of the price of energy-saving renovations. So not only the cost of it, but plus 10%. So if you got like solar panels on your house or a better water heater, whatever the case might be, you would get the appliance paid for plus 10%.
Now, what could possibly go wrong with a program like that?
And
Especially when you have Italians and contract workers, and I mean that is exactly the scenario where the guy goes, "Look, we can, I could charge you the 40 grand this is going to cost, or I can invoice you 60 grand and you'll get, 68 grand or whatever. You'll get even more back,
right?
And, we all win."
And so as of
So it's just bankrupting the government because all the shady. I'm just saying, in a hypothetical world, there's a bunch of shady Italian contractors that are fucking like fraudulently filling out their invoicing.
As of last year, the renovating cost that the government paid out was nearly 10% of its entire GDP.
Jesus,
which is fucking
dude. And
insane.
Italy doesn't have a good GDP.
No, it's not
They're
that
like one
high.
of the poorest countries in Europe.
I mean,
or at that level, like in
yeah. But 10%, that's obviously unsustainable, but also insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened.
Okay.
This last one, I'll just hit this.
You want to talk about?
Yeah,
it?
we can skip that. We got enough Trump in the show already. Shall we get into media diet?
Yeah. What have you been watching?
So I watched more of that sugar show, which I talked about before, which is the Colin Farrell show. And I think I'm like 6 episodes in now. I think there's only 2 episodes left I have to watch.
Is it where is that available? Is that normally
Apple
on-
TV?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have Apple. You recommend it?
It's really good. It's really,
Okay,
really
maybe we'll
good.
start that tonight.
Especially if you like film noir. It just even the way they frame a lot of the screen the shots is just very reminiscent of the way film noir was filmed.
I love that.
Just even like the shots
Is
where
it
he's driving.
like film noir can be, or is it good pacing?
It's really good pacing, actually.
Okay.
And Colin
love
Farrell's
Colin Farrell.
he's fantastic in this show. He's
Have you heard about his legendary genitalia?
I haven't. No.
There was a guy on Your Mom's House that his whole thing was like going around and capturing sex tapes, and he said like he was like, yeah, well, wow, like.
Go ahead.
He's like, I deal in this, and I'm impressed.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I see what you're working with, Colin.
fire.
Anyways, no, I can't recommend it enough. It's very, very good.
Can you tell me what it's about without ruining it? I get film noir, so there's probably like a toxic woman.
Is
there a toxic woman? Is there a femme fatale?
There's probably more than one, actually. Now that I think of it.
Nice.
But so he is a private detective, as you would imagine, film noir, and his specialty.
One of the first conversations Alan ever had with me while we were talking about like movies that we're into is he goes, do you like dick movies? And I just said, yeah, just not trying to be weird,
Right. And I was like, like The Big Sleep.
Oh, yes.
And his specialty is recovering missing persons. And I think that's enough not to.
Okay, yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough. Okay, cool.
No,
I
great
think
pacing, very good story.
Natasha, while you were talking about it, we're gonna watch it tonight.
Awesome. How about you?
A few things. I finally watched Napoleon. You watched Napoleon, so let's talk about that briefly. I feel like you somewhat undersold it, but at the same time, like
I did like it.
I liked it. I don't think it was anything that would ever appeal to an American audience that much.
Yeah, it's probably
but it was good, especially as like a historical movie. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was so obviously made by a British guy about the French. Like you could tell that the guy hated French people, right?
Yeah, there was a bit of bias showing.
No, maybe. Alan, describe the accent of every actor in the movie. They all had British accents.
They did,
including not Will Ferrell, Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like they all had a British accent. So it's just like,
what did you think of like the love story
on Josephine?
Yeah.
I think it had to have a love story.
Yeah.
So
I found that interesting. Although
I thought it was great. I thought she was the star of the movie. I think
she was really good. She
phenomenal.
was very good. Yeah.
That scene where she shows him the surprise.
Right.
Also very funny. He goes.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that is historically accurate, but it was fun to add it to
the story. You don't look at it and be like, well, this is clearly straight out of the history books.
Right. No, not at all.
Yeah. But it wasn't like constantly gratuitously gory, but at times, like watching a horse get hit by a cannonball, I was not expecting that. Like,
yeah,
I now feel like I know what it looks like to see a horse get hit by a cannonball.
That was rough. That was a rough.
If you asked me to think about what that looked like before, I wouldn't really be sure, but now I feel pretty confident.
Yeah, and I think I've read stories about like during the Civil War that happening to like people, soldiers being on horseback and a cannonball hitting them, but seeing it like graphically was quite a thing. Quite a thing.
I thought it was really good. I still think the most remarkable thing about the movie is it was the British hate the French, and this was clearly a movie made by a Brit about a French historical legend.
I didn't really connect that dot when I was watching it, but I absolutely see it now.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. We finished Dave. We had one more episode, and I watched it.
I'm gonna start.
I really want you to watch Dave.
Yes, I'm going to start that.
It's kind of heavy. Like I know it's not like heavy is too strong of a word, but like you I don't think you're gonna want to watch like 4 episodes in a row, which is fine. It'll last that way. You'll maybe 2, and then you're good.
And it's 3 seasons long so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there will be one more season, but in case there isn't, I think they ended the 3rd season really well. I don't know. Like I don't need a 4th season, but I didn't hate the 3rd, if that makes sense. Like I'd be happy if they ended it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And then lastly, I want to tell you a movie not to watch, but it appealed to us, and I don't know if you've seen it before. It's one of Clint Eastwood's first movies, if not his first directorial movie. I'm not sure. Have you seen Play Misty for Me?
No.
Don't.
Okay.
But
maybe do.
Yeah, it's not long. It's an hour and a half.
Is it bad?
It certainly doesn't hold up.
Okay.
Here's a couple of things. So it's about a radio DJ at a jazz station in Monterey.
Okay.
Which is like, he lived in Carmel, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that makes sense for.
He's like, sweet, I got a location for you, right?
Yeah.
So the opening scene of the movie is this like oceanfront house on a cliff, and him standing in the window looking out of it, and there's like a helicopter shot. When you think about the shots and the fact this movie was made in the 70s, you're like, dude,
pre-drone.
Yeah, they're pretty good shots, honestly. Like and like I feel like all Clint Eastwood movies, I feel like I'm gonna do a bad job here. This is still a compliment, not like in a Kevin Smith way where you're like, God, you really write clumsy dialogue. Like, I mean, I love Kevin Smith movies, but his dialogue is him talking. Like,
sure,
forced
his voice.
Yeah. I feel like all Clint Eastwood movies have this dialogue and style to the characters that are flawed in comparison to other movies, but kind of more represent what reality would be. So it's like a real person talking but you're used to polished script delivery and things like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, especially in that era.
Yeah.
That's not the way movies are written. Eastwood has a very specific style. I can't quite put my finger on what it is.
Yeah.
But when you're watching a film that he directed.
Well, like Gran Torino is a great movie, but
Right.
like his actors are, you didn't know him for anything before that movie, and he wants that,
Sure.
That's something he looks for in it. So it's something for me and you to laugh at. Yeah, it's a evening jazz music station DJ, and he has an oceanfront house. Like, look, I know there was a time period where Don and Mike were just printing money, and DJs did make. I don't think that the
That's
jazz
pretty rare.
I don't
Yeah.
think so yeah. And the whole movie centers around him. He has a stalker that calls him and says, "Play Misty for me," and and it's just about this fantasy world where DJs are like cutting, going through all this trim. All that DJ groupie puss, never a fucking thing. So like it was a funny movie in that regard. It's also hilarious in terms of like, hitting women. It was a great movie for that. Like if you love laughing at the old school way that men would just hit women and they just put it in the theaters, like it's kind of funny.
It's fun domestic abuse. All right.
Yeah, that was what I was looking for. Yeah. And
our domestic abuse is cheeky and fun.
Yeah, in a Clint Eastwood kind of way.
Sure.
There is a story about it that I think is interesting. Oh, there's like a 5-minute scene in the movie where they play the oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face.
Mm-hmm.
Who sings that? Can you look that up for me? It was on Brido's show recently, and all the comedians were freaking out because nobody knew how. The title of the song is clumsy. It's not The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face. It's The First Time Ever
Roberta
I Saw Your Face. Roberta Flack, yeah.
Yes.
That song was not popular. She did not have a notable career yet.
Mm-hmm.
Clint Eastwood was in the process of producing the movie. He was looking for a song for a montage of him and his partner basically having softcore porn in like a spring in the woods in Northern California. So that water's freezing cold. Like,
yeah.
And so, but so he heard the song on the radio and he contacted her agent, got a hold of her somehow, and he offered her $1,000 for it. And she talked him up to $2,000.
I mean, the 70s, that's not bad money. It's not great.
When you look at it being 5 minutes of an hour and a half movie, though, you're like, wow, that's kind of a lot per minute, or a little per minute. But the thing that was remarkable about it was it took off. It launched her career. And the reason why was because he told her this. He's like, I insist, we're not going to play like a clip from your song. We're going to play the whole song start to finish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when you watch the movie, there's this like long
scene of just the music playing in the background.
Yeah. Which nobody does, but yeah, I mean, I don't really know Roberta Flack's career, but I see her records in bins whenever I'm flipping through records.
I know the name. I know some of the music. Yeah.
I mean, it was a top 8 hit. It was in Brido's.
Yeah.
It was in Brido's top 8 tournament. Yeah.
It was it's almost like a music video. If it's just the music.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Actually,
that's exactly what it looks like. Is a music video for the song. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. You want to play a game?
Yes. What do you have one for me?
I do.
Okay.
So we're playing Wacky or Kakalaki. We got 3 facts about North Carolina. 2 are correct and 1 is not. And Dustin has to find the one that's wacky.
I gotta find the
the song.
It's wacky or throw your hands up. All right. North Carolina. Oh, I don't want to hit the button so bad. North Carolina is home to the Eastern redbud. Mm-hmm. This tree's flowers are filled with neurotoxin, which make it the deadliest tree in the Americas. Oh, ain't no way in the Americas. Wow. North Carolina's got the deadliest tree. You think there's a rainforest tree that's worse than that? Certainly the frogs that live in it.
That's fair.
North Carolina is the namesake and part of the range of the now extinct Carolina parakeet, the only parrot native to the Southeast and one of only 3 native to the U.S. Fuck, man. I'm inclined to think it's true just because of how well parrots do survive in in the US.
Mhm.
In LA, there's this whole legend about how like a tropical bird store or whatever, exotic pet store burnt down like in Pee-wee's Playhouse or whatever. And these parakeets these parrots escaped. And because of that, the entire San Fernando Valley, there's these orange parrots all over. And like, you wouldn't expect that. And
You know what's funny is
there's
there's an almost exact story in San Francisco.
Yep.
Because there's
I
parrots.
actually don't know if it's true because there's the same story in Orange County too.
Really?
Yeah.
No, but I've seen pictures of the parrots in San Francisco that are wild.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You've
if
seen them you've seen them in Monrovia. You saw them.
Yeah. So the parrots are there. How they got there, I don't know. But there's a very similar origin story for that in San Francisco.
I'm inclined to say that one's true. The famous Venus flytrap is actually only native to about a 60-mile radius of swamps and wetlands around Wilmington. Huh. I thought that was a rainforest plant. It's definitely not an animal.
It's on the border.
What you're saying? Wilmington is on the border of?
No, I'm saying a
Brazil?
Venus flytrap is on the border of being a plant and an animal.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
yes, yeah. Well, I got to pick one of them.
Yep.
The Americas. Deadliest tree in the Americas. This is tough.
Thanks, Rash. This is fun.
Well, I got to give something for the listeners, so I can't stall any longer. I'm going to say I don't like the phrasing of the Americas, so I think the first one is wacky. You're smiling.
Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah?
ding, ding, ding,
I
ding,
got it
ding,
right?
ding, ding. You got it right.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh,
in
you're so kind. I like to
retrospect-
ring the bell when you get it wrong.
In retrospect, I would have changed Americas to like North America or something like
Is that what it was?
No, it's not poisonous at all. The
So
tree
it wasn't-
is
It
there.
wasn't my logic, but it
No,
was still.
You're right. You were pretty close. Yeah. I mean, when you said that, I was like, oh, he's gonna get this one.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not poisonous at all.
Oh, that's really funny. So I can eat it.
You can eat it. If you
Okay,
want.
I'm gonna go find one.
Okay.
Okay. I have something to end the show with, and they let's see. Should I ask you? I could save the question for a while. I don't want to wait until next week to say more things picking on the Libertarian Convention. Now, new listeners, I used to be one, so I can do this.
Yes.
Remember that in Mrs. Doubtfire? I don't like men. I used to be one. Wasn't that from that? Something like that.
I think so. Ron Williams, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, God damn it! I ruined it.
What?
Fuck. Don't look at this. Did you already see it?
No.
You know what? Pretend I didn't say that. And let's just see. OJ Simpson, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Courtney Love all got write-in votes in what election, Alan?
Oh shit. Courtney Love.
Don't. I'm not editing this. Come on. Those were write-in votes at the Libertarian presidential nomination convention. Their write-in vote game is legendary.
In what, like 94?
No, last weekend.
Oh,
OJ
what?
Simpson, who recently died.
Died.
Yes.
Courtney Love. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. That's hilarious.
I'm glad that still worked.
That's a very libertarian thing to do.
I found out some new facts about that in between the last time we did the show and now. I listened to the Reason Roundtable podcast, which is a libertarian podcast.
Right.
Trump says that he could have won the nomination if he was in the nomination, because instead they got write-ins for OJ Simpson, right?
Right.
Trump says he could have won, but it's against the GOP rules for him to have put his name in.
Oh.
And we know how much he loves to follow the rules.
Right. The reason I didn't win is because I play by the rules.
I gotta play by the rules, man. I just pay no attention to these 34 felony counts that I've been convicted of. So I want to tell you a little bit of a wrinkle about what happened that led to an awkward moment at the end of it. I think this will just be how we end the show. We'll see. I might ask you one more question.
Okay.
So there's this guy named Michael Rechtenwald who was expected to be the presidential candidate. In fact, they do runoff ballots, right? At most nominating conventions do that, right?
Yes.
So Michael Rechtenwald came in first on all of the first 5 ballots. So they had 5 rounds of voting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people's names would drop off and they'd narrow it down more and more.
Sure.
But in the 6th round of voting, that guy Chase Oliver ended up winning, and Michael Rectenwald was behind him in second, right? And then in the 7th round, it was only a choice between Chase Oliver and none of the above. And Chase
What
Oliver,
happened to Rectenwald?
I guess he was third behind none of the above. I'm not sure. I
Oh.
can't explain it, but I just love the fact that the Libertarians almost voted none of the above.
That is very funny.
They're just a fucking joke, man. Like inviting Republicans into their nominating convention and then almost electing none of the above because they're petulant children.
Every time you said that guy's last name, I was like, Recton. Hardly knew him.
Rectum. Well, I got a clip similar to this. Hold on.
Tell the patient you are going to insert your finger into his rectum and that it will be cool.
And
cool.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool. So that guy had a whole speech to give after Trump gave his speech, where he was going to sort of be like, "Hey, we're the Libertarian Party. Here's a response." As long as so the whole point was, we'll bring a bunch of eyeballs here because people will tune in to look at what Trump has to say, and then they'll listen to what the Libertarians have to say.
Sure.
So Rectenwald, that was his job, right? This Rectenwald guy. So he goes up there. He starts to give his speech. He starts to fumble through it, and then he leaves early because, quote, the edible just kicked in. These people, man.
That's hilarious.
I'll talk to you in a couple days.
All right, cheers, man. It's a great day for America.
It's a great day for America.
You got to play the outro.
Oh, God. Thanks, dude. Oh, boy. This is how the show always sounds at the end, me forgetting how we do this. Sorry, that's the halftime song.
When a guy's banging you,
Y'all let me in his damn house.
oh, how about that?
Come in the name of peace. LMFAO. What in the world is this? Is Kevin McCarthy a moron, and if so, why?
Why would you say something that stupid?
I come without explanations or solutions. I'm a very sexy lady, cat turd.
I will not suffer this harlot.
How great! An anti-American Marxist.
Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself.
Read the news. China is asshole.
God bless the United States.
Podcasting.